Welcome back to your guide on fractional work for organizations. How are we going to guide not only our organization, our business needs through this journey of traditional approaches to work, full-time work, over to fractional, part-time, freelance, and contract work? But how are we going to let our teams in? How are we going to get everyone on board with this shift, change, and transition? So, one thing that I've been seeing with clients is they kind of want to bury their hands in the sand and say, we're really busy and we got everything else going on. 100% true. Things are moving faster than ever. But if you want to stick your head in the sand, you're going to be behind the game. If you want to wait till 2030 when 50% of the workforce is freelance, fractional, or contract type of work, you're going to be struggling. And an interesting thing is when COVID hit and it went very virtual for a while, our manufacturing plants that I was helping lead, we were very paper based and very in person based. We had systems in place, but it was easier to go talk to someone, very hands on. And so that switch, virtual was already there, right? Virtual software and meetings were already prevalent around the world, and we just weren't hopping on it because we were so busy. Well, when that switch hit, we were in a world of hurt. People couldn't figure out how to get online, where files were located. Software became extremely prevalent in the notes that were there in the pass off. So we were behind the eight ball, and it was extremely stressful to get people on board, and we were basically shoving them through change. Now, as you know, in change management, if you can take the time to get people on board, get them tools to adapt, train people in this new world, it goes so much easier. And it's similar to like a hike in the woods, or say you're going to climb a summit. And if you are practiced and prepped and have the right tools for that journey, it goes so much easier and it's enjoyable, and you can enjoy the view and the people you're with. But if you go in the woods and you don't have water, you don't have food, you don't have a compass, and you get lost, it is stressful, it's panicked, it's chaotic, you're going to lose people. So, what we're doing here is we're shifting this reality from a battle to embracing it. We're not going to stick our head in the sand. We're going to move a plan forward for our organization to make sure the team's all aligned on this journey moving forward together. And why I premise that is because this episode is going to be building a case for fractional workers. Now, a good way to do this is where people like to talk in business, and that's money. So put money around fractional versus full-time work. I think it's really important that you still have full-time workers, you have people running your operation, but those pieces that come and go, those things that you just need to launch forward that you can't get done, those things that you really need an expert, and it's going to take your organization a year or two to learn, that's where you get fractional, contract, freelance work in. And when you really look at costs, it's going to cost you less to get a fractional worker in and out than a full-time employee. That's an obvious statement, right? Because they're only working this much, and a full-time employee is working in that much. But interestingly enough, take into account benefits, the cost of benefits for full-time workers, take into consideration costs of things like retirement funds and workers' comp and all the other little factors, PTO. What things do you need in your operation to keep things moving, keep the business growing, keep client relationships interconnected? And then what things come and go? What things do you need an expert or specialist at? And that's the pieces that you actually go out to third parties to get done. Now, the cool thing about that is as you bring in third parties, your current workforce, the full-time employees, are learning from them. And that's something that in your scope of work you should consider is, yeah, we might not be an expert at this right now, but we're going to get an expert to come in and help us with this project. I want you all to learn from them. I want you to watch them, how they critically think, how are they problem solving, what resources are they using, because it doesn't mean you need to hire a fractional or freelance or contractor every time. It means right now in this specific time, we are not ready. Let's get an expert in. So you can evolve with this with getting in outside resources. So compare those costs of fractional versus full-time work, and then also the undocumented and untangible things that are happening behind the scenes, such as your workforce learning. Now, the next step around that is you identify kind of where you would need freelance fractional work. you need to secure buy-in from leadership. And that is going to be important, because when I work with clients and get to that leadership team conversation, there are people that are on board and want to move forward. They see the value. And then there are people that are stuck with, we've never had to hire people before. We've never done it that way. And they drag the team back. And why I want to bring that out is having these conversations early can start to get rid of the apprehensions that these leaders might be having. Why don't they want someone in? Oh, it's because they're going to break up the team dynamics. Communication flow is going to be difficult. IT setup for these fractional workers. How do we even do that? All the unknown. Let's go back to change management concepts, all right? Securing buy-in from people means they need to have an understanding and information of where we're going. So if you're in this exploratory phase in your organization of how does fractional work in our organization, you need to start exploring that information and resources to see this is how it could work. And then we just fix the IT thing. We fix the communication within the team. We get a scope of work done. And you take it piece by piece and it becomes less scary. And it was interesting when I was looking at fractional work for an engineer. We needed a very specific engineer. They knew someone that wanted to retire, but he didn't really want to retire. He just wanted flexibility to be a snowbird and go south during the winter, things like that. And they were against it. They were against it. So I kept bringing it up. And then we had projects where his specific expertise would have been perfect, but we didn't have them yet. And then you just kind of had to let it flow. You had to get them more information. Where does this fit? How could we be more successful with this fractional worker? And then we called the guy, we got him in, and it went phenomenal. This engineer was 90% billable on his projects, which was extremely high for billable type of work. And it was fun to see too, because he could still be with his family, he could still take trips, he could still do all the retirement things, but he wasn't ready to retire. And he was sharp. So that's the fractional work you're looking for, is very specialized expertise for specific projects, specific initiatives, things to get done. And the team is rallied around it because we're moving forward together. They're not stealing anyone's job. They're not stealing all that fun value add work. They're providing value on top of your team and teaching them along the way. Now, strategies for presenting doesn't just end with leaders. It also includes the stakeholders. Say you get all the leaders on board and the team that this fractional worker might be working with doesn't know what a fractional worker is. Are they stealing my job? Are they going to change everything? Who is this person? They're not even part of our organization. Getting rid of that resistance and doing like a stakeholder analysis is going to be important, because there are people that just need to be informed. They just need more information about what this is. And then there's people that you're going to have to guide on this change of what does this look like, what things aren't changing, and move them forward that way. Now, it's important to provide data and examples along this business case because it is new. I would say in a year or two, like 2026, 2027, it's going to be pretty prevalent in the workforce that you're not going to have to do this step. But right now, because it's a new approach to the modern day workforce, you're going to have to bring in some data. Where is it successful? Examples of how it's rolled out in other people within your industry or other organizations. And even where you could share within your industry. So say I'm a manufacturing plant over here and one of our sister plants over here has someone that does system integration. So they're integrating their CRMs, their customer relationship manager software. They're integrating their inventory software. They're integrating just operational software. Could they do it with our other plants over here? Right? They know our culture and operations. They know some of our systems. Let's go over to the sister plant over here. So you kind of start referring out to people that are similar within an industry, using those examples to gain momentum in a business case. The key thing I want to point out, and probably where I'm a little direct and raw and real with clients, is this is happening. So you can be on the side that is battling this reality of the workforce shifting to fractional, freelance, and contract work, or you can embrace it, which means you start taking steps now, baby steps, bite-sized steps, little checkpoints, so that when we get to the point where 50% of the workforce is freelance, fractional, or contract, we're ready. We have a culture for it. Our operation is built around it. We have agile teams that can work with fractional workers that come and go, and we're thriving. Or we can stick our head in the sand and act like it's not happening and have a lot of pain later. It all comes down to what you focus on is what you actually care about. So if you care about a workforce that's going to take you into the future, if you care about a workforce that's going to serve your clients, if you care about a business that can grow in very changing times, then this will be important. Stick with me as we continue this journey and begin to make your plan as an organization on how you create a culture that accepts fractional work, how you embrace a workforce that's moving to fractional work, and how you don't lose people along the way. Because we're not going to battle reality. We're going to embrace it.